Hi, Sister Moms. While we hope that you enjoy listening to the Four Moms podcast and find it helpful, it is not intended to replace a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. If you have questions about finding a mental health provider, please email us at fourmoms827@gmail.com and we will send you a list of resources.
We are Four Moms, a platform intended to uplift and empower those who listen so that they find their voice, seek healing, and recover their strength. It is our hope that in tuning into Four Moms, you find a community full of laughter, thought provoking conversation, and you see a little bit of yourself in each one of us because we are four daughters, four women, and four moms here for you.
Hi, Sister Moms. Welcome back. Come on in and chat with us. We are so excited to see you again.
Thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to get started with one of our questions from one of our viewers. The question was, what does self-care look like for you? So I'll get started. For me, it's just, making sure I have boundaries in the morning and at nighttime so I can have like 5 to 10 minutes just to myself with my coffee and my music without any interruptions from my daughter. That's my self-care that I do on a daily basis. Guarantees me 20 minutes to myself every day.
Yeah, I think, well, self care for me is pretty basic. It's just being able to take a shower once my son goes to sleep. That means that no one's busting in the bathroom, knocking on the door, interrupting me, and I get to play my music, the music that I like to listen to. So it's shower after bedtime.
Mhm.
So my self-care is getting my nails done. I think that is the one thing I said I will never change. I get my nails done every 2 weeks. Due to COVID, I only get my feet done right now. but I get my nails done. I listen to music on Sundays. I'm not very religious, but for some reason on Sundays, I always put on gospel music in the morning just to get me going for the day. And then I love to just sit by myself sometimes and just close the door, meditate, and get my thoughts in one. Namaste.
That's cool. For me, I do a lot of different things, but definitely like prayer just to ground myself and my mind, meditation, yoga, which I do like right off of YouTube. And then I use another little app that have like live yoga sessions, which is pretty cool. Especially hot yoga. When it was hot in the summertime, I would just like turn the air off and just like sweat to death and do hot yoga. And I swear it was like so therapeutic. And then like Dr. Lamb said, just taking a shower, right? It's like moms don't get showers alone a lot, so at nighttime that shower is just like rejuvenating. So that's me.
But as moms, how do you make sure you make sure you do self-care? Because there's always a lot of things going on with us.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, nature kind of forces me to make sure I do it. I can tell when I didn't get my time to like drink my coffee or do my Headspace app because I feel more like irritated or agitated. So then I'm like, oh, I didn't do this today. So I go lock myself in the bathroom and, put some music on and take some deep breaths and come back a new mom, new employee, new friend, new daughter, just a new person.
Yeah, and I think I remember like my kids are older now, like they're 3 and 5, but when they were newborns, not newborns, but like I want to say like maybe 6 months or so, I used to like, try to be like this super mom that was with them all the time and like watching them every second. And I learned by the second child that it's okay to like put the baby down in a safe space and walk away for a minute. They will be fine as long as they're not like in a harm, like if they're in their crib and they're safe, they're good. And just take a minute for yourself. So I know like new moms struggle with that a lot. I know I did in the beginning, like letting go, literally, especially when you're nursing. Like, I don't know, that's a whole nother conversation. But, but just that time to like sit them down, you got to go cry or whatever the case may be. Just like you need a moment to yourself just to breathe. So that's always helped me.
One thing I remind myself of is that it's better for everybody if I get a little bit of alone time. Like it's better for me, it's better for my husband, it's better for my son. I won't be as short tempered, I'll be more relaxed and better able to play and have fun. Sometimes I might not get any time alone in the whole day. And then at the end of the day, my husband will say something like, "Oh, you want to watch a movie or you want to do this or that?" And I'll say, "Yeah, but first I need like 30 minutes, or can you give me an hour because I have, I just need some alone time, or I have a few things that I want to do." And luckily the answer is yes. So like I said, it's better for everyone that we kind of take a moment to decompress.
Yeah, my mom always taught me that. She always said like quiet time is good time. And it's like from when we used to get home from school, she was like, it's time to do your guys' homework. So that was our quiet time and her time to do her self-care. So I tend to do that with my daughter now. I'll put her up for like a little nap or just put her in her playroom and let her, safe space, sit down so I could kind of have my moment when I get off of work. Because now that being at home and dealing with work, it's like everything's in one spot. You don't really get that time just to take a break.
Mhm.
Definitely. So now we're just going to move on to our tea time. Welcome to the month of November. Thank you for joining us in our second month of operations. November is National Family Caregivers Month. There is a lot to be aware of when you think about being a caregiver and the different roles and responsibilities of caregivers. Dr. Lamb is going to give us some background information about the art of caregiving and making sure you have the proper like mental support and physical support that you need to be a great caregiver.
Yeah, so I think we often focus on mothers and fathers and, kind of caregiving for children. And we forget about our other caregivers that are taking care of their parents, that are taking care of maybe even neighbors or children that are not biologically theirs. And it's really important for us to honor those folks because it is not an easy job. And we find that many of the caregivers are in what we call that sandwich generation, where they're caregiving for their own children and their parents at the same time. And then they fall somewhere in between. So how much time do they have for themselves? How do they draw lines and have boundaries around family time versus taking care of, this elder who might be in their family? Often we hear that folks who are providing care are struggling in a lot of ways. They end up taking care of that person's medical and emotional needs and neglecting their own. So they're not attending their own medical appointments. They're actually starting to isolate themselves from their peer group because they're so exhausted from providing care and things like that. So I think it's important for us to think about, some of the things that caregivers can do when you are in that position. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it is an honorable thing to do. And absolutely the best kind of work we can do is show love to, folks who are in need. And one of my earliest memories of providing care, aside from helping out with my younger sister, but I won't get into that because I don't want to embarrass her. But one of my earliest memories is providing care for my grandmother. When I was in high school, I was probably around 15. She was diagnosed with cancer and was struggling and was sent home on hospice. And she was sent home on hospice in the summertime. So I remember earlier in the year, I had told my mom, I'm too old to go to camp. I don't want to go to summer camp anymore. So when this happened, she's like, "Oh, you're not going to summer camp? So guess what? You get to join the family rotation and, and help out and help grandma because grandma has helped you, all these years." And to be honest with you, I loved every moment of it. There's not a single regret. I didn't wish to be anywhere else. I loved being there. It gave me a real sense of responsibility and purpose. I was able to, at 15, participate in making her food and weighing her every day and bathing her and, kind of making her walk around the house for exercise. And it is, to this day, probably one of my proudest moments that I was able to give her just a fraction of the love that I think she offered me. But in looking at my mom and her sisters, some of the things they did to make sure that they kind of took care of themselves as caregivers is that they stayed connected to each other. So they had a social outlet. They made sure they talked about what they were going through. They did set limits. So whoever was working more maybe took fewer shifts, or if someone had a longer shift, someone else filled in for them. Other things you can do is look for support groups, look for a support group around whatever issue you're trying to help your family member manage. And also take care of yourself. Don't let your needs fall by the wayside. But I'm sure you ladies have some ideas and suggestions around caregiving also.
Yeah. So for me, I've been a caregiver to my grandmother who just passed away in March this year, actually from COVID. So you know, it's interesting because like I have a really big family, right? A lot of she had a lot of children, a lot of grandchildren, but of course, it's just like with any um, family or any organization is always like the faithful few, as they say in church. Like it's always the few people that go hard. Like no matter how many people are there, it's going to be the same people getting the groceries, taking her to appointments, scheduling those appointments, making sure her medicine is together, or whatever that looks like. So I want to just say like caregiver burnout is real, and then sometimes I think especially as moms, like we take on like just a mom role, especially when our moms, grandmoms get older, that's just naturally like our instinct is to jump in and take care, right? But caregiver burnout is real, like it's a real thing. Like Dr. Lamb was saying, I watched my aunt who was my grandmother's primary caregiver. She passed away this time last year. She was 55 years old. She had cancer and she didn't even know. She like got diagnosed and 2 months later she passed away, right? So that really took my grandmother down, because that was like her primary caregiver. But the lesson in that is like she wasn't doing self-care. She wasn't taking time for herself. And I know that because my aunt worked a lot of hours, but no matter how tired she was, she would, put my grandmother first. That's just who she was. And then if she couldn't do it, she would call on me or my other aunts or, other reliable people. But I think um, we take for granted that we can do it all, especially when you have your own children, you have your own family, you're working and things like that. And then you're trying to provide, for an elder. I think just that balance is like something that's missed, like you just talked about. And I've seen it with my own eyes. So, um, and then I think um, in families, like we think that one person, oh, they're taking care of mama, they're good, like they're gonna do it all, and it's like no, that person needs help. They just may not ask for help, like verbally, So being aware of that, checking in with those people that are the primary caregivers. Maybe you can't do that. Maybe you can't take that on the full responsibility, but nobody should do that, especially when there's like a family. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I've only really been a caregiver to my daughter, but just in that role, I think it's really important just to know what your limitations are, and don't be afraid to ask for help because sometimes family members don't provide the help because we're not asking, and one of the tips that I know definitely should be applied for caregivers is to be able to use your resources around you to seek professional help because sometimes like part of your limitations are physical limitations, like you physically cannot lift and bath and weigh and feed or give medicine, take blood. Know your limitations, ask for the help, or when you feel overwhelmed, be in tune with yourself to say, okay, I can't do this anymore all on my own and I need additional support. And that support can come in the form of a nurse. Medicaid or Medicare has so many different, you know, avenues to go through when you are taking care of, other people. You can get financial support for that. You can get help with transportation, help with food. You can just have someone, okay, it's your turn, like Dr. Lamb was saying, you tag in because I have this long shift coming up. Just be able to, reach out to people and don't be afraid to say that, it's overwhelming. I think one of the most important things that both Dr. Lamb and Kalima just mentioned was, the importance of having that network or that support group or being able to find one. You'll be surprised. There are so many support groups out there. And if you need help finding any, just shoot us a message. We'll definitely, point you in the right direction. But just don't be afraid to, get the help that you need and ask family, friends, or professionals for the additional assistance.
And I just want to add that even though, being a caregiver is hard, you also have to think about the person that you're caring for. And that person has been taking care of you your entire life. And now you have to take care of them. So not having that control sometimes can be hard. So it's always going to be rough in the beginning. So, dealing with a parent, a sister, a brother that you may have to take care of for because they're injured or maybe they're getting older, that is still a new life for them. So it's always going to be an adjustment for them too. And coming from a big family like myself, the older person always seems to be the person that takes care of the parent. And you need to be aware of that. And as me being the younger child, I make sure that I call my mom and I call my sister and just ask, like, what do you need? So anytime I go up and visit her, I make sure I have a bag full of stuff. And I sit with her and give my a sister that time. You also have to acknowledge your role in taking care of the caregiver and the other person's role that is a primary caregiver of that family member.
Yeah.
I love that, Earth, that you mentioned that these folks are folks who took care of us and changed our diapers and made sure that, you know, we had the opportunities we had. And it makes me think about a saying that my dad shared with me a long time ago. He said, remember, daughter, you're only an adult once and a baby twice. You know, he said, someone's going to care for you in early life and in later life. Middle life is the only opportunity you really have where you have a lot of control and agency. And I think making that transition and allowing someone to care for you is tough, you know. And one of the things that did come up while taking care of your elder is you know, obviously rewarding and the right thing to do. It's sometimes challenging because they're experiencing a lot. You know, maybe they're experiencing physical pain, emotional pain, and then there's pride and, you know, adjusting to allowing yourself to be taken care of and not always having the final say in some decisions because there's a whole bunch of people who love you and care about you and want you to make the best choice to keep you, you know, keep you around and healthy and living longer. So there's a lot to think about with it. And it just requires a lot of grace, you know, just a lot of understanding. My mom tells stories all the time that her mom was the sweetest. You know, my grandmother was the sweetest. She was about 4'9" and the sweetest voice and just kind to everyone. But when she was very ill, she was in a lot of pain. And my mom said, oh, she pinched me all the time. She's like, you know, she would say, leave
Oh,
me
church pinch.
pinch, leave me alone, don't comb my hair. You know, it was tough. You know, it was tough because she didn't feel well, but my mom kept going even though she was getting pinched and you know, told off. She kept going and she did her mama's hair because that's the right thing to do, you know. And her mom would have done it for her.
Yeah. So from this topic, a few key takeaways are, you know, just always, if you're a caregiver or if you know a caregiver, make sure that you're providing a support system or seeking one. Stay educated about your resources around you to help you in that role as a caregiver. And just remember to practice your self-care. Always practice self-care. It goes a long way for you and for the person that you're taking care of. Also a lighter topic, November 3rd was election day. We still don't know who our president is.
I don't know if we can celebrate yet.
to say right now about that situation. I woke up, I went to sleep a couple of times and no news yet. It's taking a while to count these votes, y'all. A while. I saw a meme that said the sloth from Zootopia could have counted faster.
Wow.
And that was just hilarious to me. What do you guys think about what's going on with this election so far?
It's concerning for me because it's about like 5 states that we're still waiting for these numbers to come through. And now people are actually going to the poll places because he has, you know, stated that people are, you know, President Trump has said that people are cheating and they are intimidating the poll people and they have to be escorted out. So right now it is concerning, but everyone has to know that every vote matters and every vote counts and they need to take their time to count each person's vote. And this is an election and we are a democracy and voting matters in every shape or course of our lives. And as a president or even as our potential new president, that should be sacred, us voting and us giving our opinion about who we want to take care of us for the next 4 years.
That's a good point. You know, first and foremost, we're a democratic nation. We pride ourselves on giving everybody the right to vote, right? So, you know, as impatient as we may be to get the results, everyone did their part in voting. I'm very proud that we've had such a big turnout. I know in the state of New Jersey, Governor Murphy was like posting like these, you know, daily or weekly announcements of how many New Jerseyans were voting. And it just made me proud because I can remember a time when I didn't know much about voting and I didn't know how to exercise my right to vote. And, you know, we know that people fought for their rights to vote or fought for an equal voice. So the fact that we had such a big turnout, it's like, great, now how do we process these votes so we can get a president or know who our president will be?
So thinking about the president, if it's Trump or Biden, what are some of your concerns, or what is some of the things that you hope that they take tasks during their next 4 years, the administration?
For me, I think truly addressing the divide and disconnect between the police training and like preparedness to deal with mainly people that are suffering, experiencing mental health episodes, and just cultural sensitivity, instead of taking the course away like it was done, to instate it, and then making sure that the people that are supposed to be protecting us are fully trained, um, just fully trained in every area, and that they kind of just change the system, whether it's asking a social worker or somebody that's actually trained to what is it called, to de-escalate situations, right? Because at this point, people of color don't feel comfortable calling the police about anything, because we're not sure how it's going to end up, right? I'm just being full transparent. I'm not comfortable calling the police because I don't know if I'm going to get, if I'm going to be next on the news or whatever. So, not saying that can happen overnight, but I think the work has to be done, but it has to be acknowledged first. So I want a president that's going to acknowledge like the injustices and how it's how it affects us day to day, functioning. So that's my hope.
Oh, sorry. You can go ahead, Dr. Lamb.
Along those lines, I think I want to see a couple of other systemic issues be addressed, like access to quality education, and also access to healthcare and quality healthcare. I think that if we address these issues around education and we're able to invest in communities where school systems are struggling to have supplies and struggling with curriculum and books and things like that, we'll see some of those other issues around poverty and access to job and real, economic movement be addressed over time. I also, along those lines, want to see something addressed around student loans, because students of color are likely to be victims of predatory loans, the Sally Mays and Navians that have astronomical interest rates and really kind of stress folks out. I know a lot of folks who did not know that taking a private loan was not the best route and that they should have taken a federal loan, and they're really struggling to this day with companies that won't do income-based payments and things like that. So I'd like to see those issues addressed. And then when I talk about, kind of access to healthcare, I think about the fact that a lot of children of color are struggling with mental health concerns, but families either don't have access to counseling because they don't have healthcare, or they don't trust the system to actually take care of their children. They're afraid that maybe their children will be, harmed in some way, or, removed from them in some way. So I worry about those things.
So two things that I'm really concerned about is education. I feel that our education system does need to be reworked, especially with history. I feel that we should be learning U.S. history, regardless of not certain months we should learn certain types of history, but just U.S. history. There's so many civil rights acts that were happening around the same time but they piece it apart like it didn't happen together. And there's some people that were fighting together too to pass like the disability acts and civil rights acts and gay rights. All that was kind of happening around the same time. But since we separated so much in our history, it's like it's three different worlds. So I think we need to really talk about U.S. history and and not put so much emphasis on what happened in England before the immigrants came over, because yes, that is important because that's where our Constitution came from and how we started. But we really need to understand what goes on in U.S. history, because I feel like that's also the issue that we're having with the election and people being so divided, not knowing the history of America. And one other thing is childcare. Childcare is expensive. And I don't understand why. Well, I do understand why, but I don't understand why one school might be under 1,000, another school is like paying for a car note, and then another school's like paying for a mortgage. Like, I need to understand why, all these daycares are so expensive, and what are they really offering your kids, and if there's really a difference in each day. Clearly there's a difference between daycares, but is there really a difference that's going to change my child to be an Ivy League school, or just a regular 4-year college. So childcare really needs to be addressed, because it also doesn't give our children a good even playing field either.
For me, I think that I've been waiting all my life to answer this question as if I was running for the presidential. There were about like 12 topics that were really key in this election. I find it ironic that supporters, regardless of who you are voting for, what party you're a part of, were very divided on some topics, because I feel like they're all interrelated. We can't talk about improving healthcare and education if we're not talking about the economy and access to healthcare, racial or ethnic inequality. We can't separate those two or those groups of things. And for me, I just hope that when it comes to our administration, we just take it back down to the basic civil liberties, basic rights. Everyone is a human. Everyone has the right to the pursuit of life and happiness. Like, I just wanted to take it back to why we are America, why at some point in our lives we were once happy to be a part of America, or to say, yes, I'm an American, because there are things that are going on in our country now that makes me very afraid to say, yes, my name is Almisa and I'm from the United States of America, because we have kids in cages. We have African American mothers dying at way high rates in childbirth and labor and delivery because of lack of health care, lack of education regarding what they're going through in their body, lack of doctors or healthcare systems or hospitals that are willing to treat them effectively based off of what they're presenting. We have 200,000 people and counting dying from a pandemic that could have been prevented, that could have been stopped in its early stages. We have violent crime increasing. Our climate is dying. So all of these things are like interrelated, and it all falls back down to treating everyone like they matter and making sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to achieve greatness. So my hope is that we just remember why we're selecting a president right now, right? Where you're governing a group of people, you're governing a country of millions of people. And what your job is to protect us first and foremost, so that we can continue to grow and we can have a country 10 years, 15 years, 100 years from now. So that's just my little speech. I've always wanted to say that.
Preach, go off, sis.
That was awesome.
But moving on, we're so happy for all of the engagement that we've been getting. We have a couple of questions that were asked, and we just wanted to touch on them really briefly. The first question was, who are you outside of being a mom? Now, we know that this is a mom podcast, and we're here for you because we're for moms, representing you, answering questions, educating. But who are you outside of being a mom? What are some of your interests? What helps you stay grounded? What makes you uniquely you? Personally, for me, I don't know who I am outside of mom. I'm still figuring out a career. I'm figuring out what I like, what I don't like, what type of people I like, what type of food I want to eat every night. I don't know who I am outside of mom. And I think that in itself is a response, because I'm a ever growing and changing person, and who I am today may not be who I am tomorrow. And I'm a queen of bringing up memes. And there was a meme that said, if you knew me last week, then you don't know me today, because I changed.
That's right.
So outside of being a mom, I'm just, I would say that I'm just like a lifelong grower, seeking education, learning something new, and changing as the wind blows by. What about you, Dr. Liam?
So I'm probably gonna date myself because something that was said in the show Martin comes to mind, but it was when Shanae said, "I'm a lady." But who am I? I think, I'm a woman. I'm a lady. Feel like a strong woman. I feel like at times I'm a fierce woman when I need to be. A lover of family and friends. Love to eat and dance and aspire to be an entrepreneur and hopefully a social justice warrior, as I grow and learn more about how I can impact the community. But I'm just a lover of learning and growing and connecting with other people.
For me, I love that, by the way, Dr. Leon. For me, I just love to serve people. So that's like why I'm here, is to serve people, to love people, um, even when I don't want to. So, even when I don't like them, I'm still called to love people, right? So, and like one way that I know that I can spread love to people is through music. I love music. I love to sing. I'm a vocalist. My husband and I both just love to sing. And to me, like music is therapy. So, like that's how we penetrate the hearts of people, is through music and spreading love and just like here to serve people. You come to my house, I'll make you a drink. I'm gonna make you some coffee. I'm gonna fill your tummy up, make sure you're good. And that's just how I was raised. So just love and just love to serve people.
So this was actually a really hard question for me because I never really thought about it. Now that I am a mom, I'm like, what did I do before?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then I actually asked my husband, I was like, what do you consider me like besides being a mom? He was like, well, you are my wife. And I was just like, yeah, but that's just another label. So I would say before I got into my profession, before I became a mom, before I became a wife, I actually wanted to be a food critic. I love food. So I'm a big foodie. I would go to restaurants, and this is my spatial awareness kind of. I would look at everything on the menu and I would make sure I maximize my budget and how much food I could get within my budget. And if I went with someone, I made sure they did not get the same thing I got, and we figured it out so I could taste everything. And I would try to replicate those things at home. I'm always on Pinterest trying to look for healthy ways to make things. I don't have every kitchen item in my kitchen, but I try to get them so I can make special things for my family or my friends. And I like to try the non-traditional Black food, I would have to say. So I do love food. I'm a foodie. I'll go to hell and high water to go to new restaurant, especially when I go to new town and stuff like that. So that's one thing I would say. That's one thing I would love to do even after focusing on my little girl right now.
Yes. It's important to keep in your mind who you are outside of being a mom. Our theme today is about self-care. It's part of having self-care, making sure you're taking the time to still like go after your dreams and making sure, you're still focused on what you want to do and who you are, because after you're a mom for maybe 18 years. I'm giving myself till 25, so it's got to be out my house. What do you do when the kids leave, so you have to make sure that you still maintain your own identity so that when they're eventually out the house, hopefully it's no later than 25, y'all, you still are a person.
That number keeps on going up every year, because kids can't survive when they go to school.
Expensive out here. Shoot, I feel like I just became an adult. I'm 34.
Right. I'm trying to make sure you have your own business, put a couple of deeds in your name so that when you are set to go, you are gone and out like for good. Like there's no coming back. I'm joking completely about that, but who knows? Check me in 25 years.
Generational wealth. That's what you want.
Right, exactly. Um, Dr. Lim is going to provide us with our mommy minute for the evening.
Yes. So, mommy, sister moms, we like to encourage you to spend some time focusing on yourself. So, for this week, the mommy minute is to do something for yourself after your child is asleep, not during their nap time in the middle of the day, because we don't know how long that's going to last. Not during dinner or during homework, because you could be interrupted. But once they are asleep for the night, do your thing. It might be a cup of tea. It might be that bubble bath that you've been waiting for. It might be dinner, so you don't have to share your plate. Whatever it is, do that one thing for you once they're asleep and tell us about it. We want to hear how it went.
Thank you for joining us, Sister Moms, today. You can definitely follow Dr. Liam's instructions, and we'll be asking this on our Instagram and our Facebook page so that you can respond to us, drop it in the comments, send us a message. Most importantly, be sure to take care of yourself and make sure you tune in for our next chat. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Bye, sister moms.
Bye.